Welcome to the Rewilded Human Podcast, where Dr. Lucille, holistic psychiatrist and psychotherapist, and Dr. Lynn, naturopath and nutritional consultant, help you reconnect with your true self. Through practical tips on mental health, nutrition, exercise, relationships, and spirituality, with a dash of humor, they tackle today's toughest issues to guide you back to a harmonious, vibrant life. Rediscover your natural self, just as nature intended.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rewilded Human Podcast. We have an amazing guest for you today. Our friend Mark Bajerski is back, and we did an interview with him before. It was a couple of months ago. Make sure you check out that episode about how to get rid of negative energy in your life. That is our most viewed and most listened to podcast to this date. So we begged Mark Bajerski to come back and be with us again. In case you're trying to get rid of negative energy in your life, please watch that episode. And also, Mark was very generous. He sent me his spray, and this gets rid of negative energy. So I've been like bathing in this from head to toe. It's just so cool. Lucille, I'm sure you can smell it from there.
I'm sure I can. I'm sure it's being transmitted to me as you spray.
So good. Mark, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here again. Thank you.
We love chatting with you
we enjoyed it so much the last time. Yeah.
Really did. So today we decided we're going to talk about, well, I proposed life after death, and you corrected me immediately, and you said we're going to talk about life after life. Right, Mark?
That's
why the correction? Tell me.
Yeah. I mean, we're so used to saying, when we die, when actually, if you look at life after life, we're actually dead here. We're not really connected to our true self. Most of us, we're just walking robots. We're automatons. We're programmed to eat, drink, sleep, and scroll now. So when you are at home in the spirit world, you are of everything. It's hard to explain, but those who have been to our home world briefly, where they feel the presence of their family in spirit next to them, where they feel that wherever they think of where they want to be, they can be, and that is near-death experience, they'll tell you that they come back with a new way of seeing life, and that it's very brief and that we should enjoy every moment of it. So hands up for everybody who's watching this, believes that every moment is a joy and it's a brief experience and we love it. Not many hands go up, but
That's right.
It's funny when you move to the light and you come back again, or vibrate into the home world and come back again, because even saying moving into the light now brings up lots of conversations about the false light and so on. But I like to just say we vibrate back home, because you can sometimes see on recordings of people in hospital, the spirit moves from the body as the body has finished and given up. So when they say
the body gets lighter, something like 30 grams lighter once the spirit leaves.
Yeah, there is an argument, a counter argument to that, saying that that's just breath and that breath holds weight. But I truly believe what you've just said. Absolutely. The soul is an incredible thing, and we tend to look at ourselves as that who we are, but actually it's not. Most of our daily chores and daily thoughts and feelings are just from a programmed perspective, which is the mind, which has stored all the information like a computer. But when you truly meditate and you truly attune to your inner voice, your soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it, then you just know. And I'm not saying everybody can do it. I'm not saying that. Some people believe that they're talking to their soul when they're actually talking to their brain. And when you talk to your soul, you can't really explain it in words, but it's far different than just thinking. It's a completely different energy, and there is no stress, there's no worry, there's no fear. There's just a complete and utter beautiful ambience of energy that is created, this connection to the voice, the inner voice, which is connected to your home world, which is a beautiful ocean of our spirit world. That's how I see it in my mind. I see it as an ocean, a spirit world where we can come and go as drops of water, because you can't really explain it. You can't draw it. So the closest we can get to it is seeing a beautiful ocean filled with colors that you couldn't imagine. And every time a drop comes out of that ocean, that could be your soul, and that could come to a body and then fill that body and be the person that you are. And then when you move or vibrate into the light, that drop of water will go back to that pool, that beautiful ocean. That's how I see it, as many of my clients have described, many of the meditations I do, and many times when I've had spirit move into me when I'm doing a healing session. So there's not just one perspective. And I don't read books. I don't watch videos. Everything that I share with you today is from personal experience, through me with thousands of clients, and through my own experience.
So Mark, have you actually had a near-death experience yourself?
No, never had a near-death experience. The closest thing that ever happened to me, and I consider myself very lucky, or some people could say protected, whatever you want, but I was a little boy. I was only young, maybe, I don't know. My mum was still alive, so I would have been before 12 years old, because my mum died at 12. I used to go to a park and I used to bounce a ball all the time. I used to like playing kind of basketball and kicking the football. And on my way home, I was doing the same thing, bouncing the ball, up until a point where I realized that I was in the middle of the road, and I froze, and I looked, and a car was coming straight at me, and I couldn't move because of that freeze. And somebody grabbed me from behind and pulled me back and saved my life. And the car beeped and shot straight past, and like I'm on the floor in shock. And I turned and nobody was there.
Wow.
Wow.
That was, and I didn't even remember that until one of my mentors said to me, something happened to you when you were young. And I'm like, no, I can't remember anything happening. She said, just think about it. It was something very profound, and you couldn't explain it to anybody. You didn't tell your mum and dad. It just happened to you, and it was very profound. So I'm sat down. I even remember I was in the corner over there, and I was at one of the bars, just sat thinking about it. And I went, oh my God. I remember I nearly got run over, and something pulled me back. And she smiled. She says, I knew it. And she didn't know what it was, but she knew something profound had happened to me. And that just blew me away.
What told you, Mark? What do you think it was?
I believe it's the spirit world, our home world. And sometimes there are moments where there is intervention. Not always, because there's somebody might be watching this and their child may have died and be angry with me. I don't know. And I don't feel any different from anybody else. And I don't know why I was saved that day, even till this moment. You can make your own judgment. But the point being is it did happen. And somebody did grab me from the back and pulled me back, because I was frozen. I was actually frozen. So somebody pulled me back, and I was turning to see who it was who saved me. So that was really a near-death experience, but I didn't die. So that was the closest thing. And I went home, and I never told anybody that story, because I would have probably been beaten by my dad. Any excuse, my dad would have beaten me. So I kept it. And at that age, well, my mum wasn't. She was a Catholic, but never talked about any of these things. Plus the fact we had a ghost in our house, and every night it would wake me up, and I used to run. I was petrified. I used to run into my mum's bedroom, and she used to let me sleep with her, because I just couldn't sleep in that bedroom, because this ghost would wake me up and terrify me. So
wow.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, was that your first experience with the spirit world?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, it was not something that I'm talking to you about it now, but it was never something that really entered my thought. It was every night, and it just happened. Some nights it would be under the bed. I could feel it where it was. Sometimes it was behind my head in the wardrobe. Sometimes it was at the foot of my bed. So when I'd wake up at a certain time every night, and I don't know what time exactly it was, but I woke up at a certain time, and I'd I remember always counting to 3 because I was so frightened of getting up, running past the ghost and going into my mum and dad's bedroom. I used to count to 3, 1, 2, 3, because I was trying to get the courage to run at number 3, 1, 2, and it took me ages, and then I eventually ran round, and my mum had just let me sleep there. She didn't really ask. She never really. It wasn't part of her understanding, I don't think. She was a lovely mum, but just had no idea about that kind of thing and didn't know what to do with it. But I remember waking up paralyzed many times, being paralyzed, and that's a normal thing. A lot of the times when it would be actually on me and around me, and when demonic spirit or trap spirit comes to you, it feels like it's a suffocation. It feels like it feels physically like you're being pushed from the chest down. And sometimes I felt like I was being moved and pushed and shoved. So there was lots of things happened. And this happened all the way to my mum's passing. So basically, I can't remember when it started, but I was young. And it went right the way until my mum died. And yeah.
So did it stop? It just stopped at the time that she died?
When my mum died, I think me and my dad were so much in shock that because I used to sleep where my mum was, I continued sleeping where my mum was instead of the ghost bedroom. And he never said anything to me. He just let me sleep there. And I think it made him, I'm going to tear up now. I think it made him feel better because I was in the bed rather than nobody. So,
right, yes.
do you know what I mean? So it was a strange thing, but actually looking back now, it made me who I was to be able to not be frightened to go into houses or, big Victorian, places and go down in the cellars and actually be confronted by these entities, these demonic energies, these trap spirits. Doesn't bother me. I can go anywhere because they have no power over me, and they know it, and I know it. And I think it's got a lot to do with probably going through that. Doesn't affect
What
me.
happens to these spirits or entities that they get trapped here, that they're not able to move on?
Yeah, well, this is a conversation that could go on for hours and hours, but if we said that the normal thing that happens on Earth is that somehow we get trapped. So depending on who we are, what we've done in this world, if we don't vibrate back into the light, like there's a lot of people who say that if you go into the light, you come back straight into the body. But that's not true because there's a lot of ghosts, a lot of trapped spirit in this world, which means that something happened that they were trapped here. So they couldn't go into the home world. And I understand why, because I've sat with trap spirit and talked to them. And a lot of the times when I'm trying to help them to go back home, some of them are destructive. Some of them on this world were murderers or child abusers. Some of them killed themselves. Some of them drunk themselves to death. Some of them were, just really awful. And because of that, when you've got this concept of religion, which really is something that I am very, very suspicious of, even more so as I get older, religion is put there to cause a lot of harm. And religion, especially in my religion, when I was a kid, I was a Catholic, and we were told we were sinners and we must repent. And if we do anything wrong, then we will burn in hell. So we were always told that we were going to burn in hell. So you imagine all of these trapped spirits before they're about to move into the light or vibrate into the light or go home. They're frightened because they've been told that they're going to burn in hell, and they know they've done bad things. So instead of going there to find out they're going to be burnt in hell, they're going to run away from it. Soon as you move away from that transition, you end up trapped in between two worlds. That's just one aspect of it, but there's more. If you have a car accident, sometimes you can be trapped in between two worlds because of the shock. If you're murdered, you can be trapped in between two worlds. That's why this world, this demonic world that we do live in, unfortunately, it is more demonic than it is love. They crave wars, because when wars happen and people kill each other, they're normally trapped in that very place. So that energy is very low, which then feeds the very entities and then those that are in power, who are not of light like you and I, who are of dark energy. So that's another conversation. So we can go down tons of paths, and we could talk about this for hours, and I could break it down very easily and simply, no problem. So did any of that make any sense?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Is there
I
anything
just,
that you didn't understand?
well, I have a question. So is it largely out of fear that you're saying, what I understand is you're saying that largely out of fear, these people who've died, who've done bad things, they're afraid of burning in hell, so they come back, they get trapped. But can they also be here for another purpose? Like maybe they want to take revenge on somebody who, oh, it's the person who murdered them, or there was some other reason why they need to come back.
No, they don't. They've never left.
They've just never left. Okay. And they don't want to leave.
Yeah, and actually, when you're sat and you're meditating and you're trying to connect to them, most of them don't even realize that they're actually dead.
Ah, okay.
Most
All
of
right.
them
So they're
still
not,
feel that.
they're walking around basically unconscious in this trapped
Well,
state.
they are conscious, but only to a very, very narrow
Narrow.
band of
Like most of the
understanding.
world at the moment, right?
Yeah. So there's
Like
been
7 billion other people.
there's been many a times that I've like been in a situation where I've tried to connect or contact that spirit in that house, and whatever the subject matter is, it normally relates to what their passing was. So maybe one day I'll write a book precisely on each reason why, which might help people along their journey. But the bottom line is that we are in a battle between light and dark wants as many people trapped in between two worlds, because that would be a perfect energy frequency for them to be entity, demonic energy, any kind of attachments. They are from another world. They're not from this world, but they can vibrate into this world, and they can move freely into certain people if they're of bad energy, negative energy, low energy, because it's the same frequency. If you're of high energy, they can't attach to you. But if you're taking medication, your energy changes. So that's a frequency that they can attach to. If you drink alcohol, it can attachments can attach to you. If you're in depression, if you're angry, all of these things, once your frequencies change, then you're like opening yourself up to these very entities. You're like a radar, and they'll just pull straight in. So one of the reasons why you have to try your best to raise your energy and be healthy, and try not to fight or argue with people. Try to be as healthy as possible, so you're not taking medication, and try your best not to drink too much.
Absolutely. Mark, I read something really interesting the other day. Somebody was saying that cemeteries are actually a soul trap, that we are meant to be cremated. And because what they're doing to the body, we cling to the bodies, right? Our souls cling to our bodies. And what they're doing now is they're, embalming all the bodies. So the body never decomposes. It's supposed to be, right? Ash to ash, dust to dust. So we never get a chance to go back to the ashes, because they embalm our bodies with formaldehyde and everything to preserve the body. And while the body's preserved, the soul is clinging more to the body. Do you think there's any truth to this?
Well, I can tell you a story that has happened a few times, and that I would be sat next to a client and I'd be reading for them. It's happened, I think, 3 times altogether. And one was very specific, and it was very specific to the timing. So I'm reading for this client and I'm saying, your husband, is this, and your husband did this. And I'm talking about a husband as in past tense. and I'm saying, you know, he's sending all his love to you. He see, you know, is the and when we'd finished, she said that, yeah, it was very good. You were very good, but the trouble is, my husband isn't dead. And I'm like, oh well, I am sorry about that. But you know, I don't know what to say. This is I read what I see. I can't make things up or try and I didn't know what to say. I can't try and lie and way out of it. And I said that, you know, and I'm scratching my head as much as she is. So she goes and then she rings me up and she found her husband in his seat dead. So here's my point when we say dead, he's gone home, right? He's now in the spirit world. He's now free to go wherever he wants. So there's this idea that people say to me that when you die, you stay with your body for 3 days, right? This is another concept. So I don't believe that, because if that was the case, I felt her husband right next to me and I was so confused, and he was here and I could smell him. He was here, and this, like, I know when spirit's next to me, my ear pops and I feel this immense energy. So I knew he was there, but I was confused because she's saying he's not died. So I was really confused. So then when I got the phone call, I was, you know, I had to then help her through that process, which took about 3 or 4 months. But the point being is that when he died, he was instantly in the spirit world. So when people say to me, when we die and they bury us, we stay with the body, I can't say that. I don't know that. All I know is what I witnessed right then and there. And that's what I believe. And near-death experiences do the same thing. They lift out of the body, and then they're with their family and they see the body, and that's how I see it happening. It's when we get shocked, when something shocked us, if we get an accident, or if we're in a bad place and we don't want to go home. Because I often say to people, imagine you're at school and the school teacher says, I've caught you doing something really bad. Here's a letter, take it home and give it to your dad. You get to the front door, and I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but I was petrified to open the door, knowing I had to give this letter to my dad, knowing what was going to happen, or not knowing what he was going to do to me, which is even worse. So I ran away. I ran away to try and get the confidence to go back home and open the door, right? But at that moment, I couldn't. That's how I see it happening when people move into the spirit world, just about to. They're either frightened to go there because of what they've done in their life, and that's where they'll end up trapped in between two worlds. Now, I don't have all the answers, but these are the things that I share with you, and you can make your own decision with that. So you can say that when you go to a graveyard, you know, that there's lots of spirits in that graveyard, and to a degree there are spirits in that graveyard, but I don't feel it as much as other people. So I was at a graveyard 3 days ago in the UK, just to go and have a look at my mum's graveyard to keep it clean. I didn't feel no spirit in that graveyard, Lynn. I didn't feel any spirits. And there's about 15, 20,000, 30,000. And I walked through the graveyard and I didn't feel anything. So I think it's the perception of a graveyard that might make people think like that, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But I'm normally pretty good at picking up spirit. So
For sure, yeah. If anyone, you would pick them up for sure.
Yeah. Well, I've had the same experience, you know, when I've had, like, my mother, I was there when my mother died. Uh, and after my father died, shortly after my father died, and I had the same experience. The spirit is just not there. It just isn't. I could feel it. This is a dead body that is no longer enlivened by a spirit. So I understand what you're saying. I wonder, though, about the whole thing about graveyards and the purpose of graveyards. You know, rather than, I don't know, wouldn't it be more natural to bury your dearly departed in your own backyard, or as
And you're not
Lynn
allowed to do
says,
that. That's illegal. Like what?
yeah, it's illegal, isn't it?
Even
And
your dog or any.
even your pets,
Yeah.
right? And you or you know, but graveyards are ubiquitous all over the planet, and you just wonder why. Why not just take the body and put it under a tree somewhere in nature? You know, that sort of thing, which would seem more natural to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have your thoughts about why graveyards are so
I think
important?
I think everything that this world offers us isn't as light as we think. And I think going back centuries, they did a lot of cultist things. And to me, a graveyard doesn't make sense. To
Mhm.
me, being letting the body decompose somewhere where I would love to be by a tree somewhere that I loved or at home, that makes sense. But you know, when we live in a world of demonic, they're doing everything they can to cause us harm in life and afterlife. So it doesn't shock me that a graveyard is done to deliberately cause this feeling of a loss and grief. Now, if you know, if say your partner passed moved into the light and you buried them in your garden, that grief wouldn't be it wouldn't even be there half as much as it is you have to go into a graveyard with lots of other people
Mhm.
buried.
Mhm.
It's kind of common sense to me, and for
Yeah.
me it's like that's deliberate.
Mhm.
It's very interesting that it's the same across all cultures. Well, not, the Inuits, I think they used to send their loved ones off on an iceberg or something, or a piece of ice into the sea.
Yeah,
And
doesn't that feel awful though as well? I mean, I don't
Yeah, it
know.
does.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It just feels weird to me. I don't know.
yeah,
But some people, you know, would like to burn a body and have the ashes in a cup and all
yeah,
that. You know, for me, right? It doesn't matter how I go. What worries me is everybody else and what they feel. To
yeah.
me, I'm gone, so it doesn't matter. You can put me in a cardboard box. I don't care because I'm home now, and it's just a body. So for me, it's like that isn't that important. The only reason why I went to the cemetery is because for the rest of the family that they want to see the graveyard all clean and you know tidy, and so I went there to sort that out when I was there. But I don't need to go to the graveyard to talk to my mum. I talk to my mum wherever I am because she's
Yes.
always here if I call her.
So you feel that she is readily available to you all the time, even if she's, as you say, if she's at home, if she's now home. So she's still available to speak to you. I had a different experience. I had an experience that my parents are just not there anymore, that they'd kind of gone somewhere else and they
Well,
were no
that
longer there.
not normally when that happens is that they choose to go to another world
Well,
and reincarnate, where whether it's this world or the other worlds that are are in this cosmos.
So
This
once
isn't the
once
only
people
world.
reincarnate, you're not able to communicate with them in the spirit world anymore.
No, I can't. I can. And sometimes people used to come to me and says, "Why can't you get hold of my husband?" I says, "I just can't.
Oh,
I
and
can't
you just
connect
can't
to him."
find him because he has reincarnated.
Well,
Wow.
the thing is, if you understand the spirit world, they're there in a moment. They're there in
Yeah.
an instant.
Yeah.
So it's a thought, and they're there because there is no space and time. So when you think, you sit down, you close your eyes, and you put your hands above your client, and you're connecting to that client. You're also calling for the energy of the family to come through. That's what we used to do. Try and feel their family in the spirit world. And sometimes I couldn't connect with them, and I realized like I can't connect to my dad at all. I can't connect to him. I've tried so many times. At first I could, but then I couldn't. And then I come to the understanding that he's come back again or he's gone to another world to learn something else as a single drop, which isn't a bad thing, really. I can easily connect to fragments of who you are and pick up your dad in them fragments, but that's different. There's a difference of me reading the fragments around you and feeling those memories and giving you information about how he was and how he felt as a psychic thing. But when spirit is actually there, it's a whole nother ball game. It's a different energy. You're speaking in the now. You're speaking now and what you did yesterday. And you've got this in your pocket, or you lit a candle in your window yesterday morning. And the client would be crying and say, yeah, I did. And you did it for your dad. Yeah, well, he's there. That's a different energy.
Was there something that you really wanted to say to your father, Mark?
No, I said everything that I needed to say to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was my greatest challenge and made me who I was. So, no, not at all. I said I released the suffering a long time ago, and it was a moment where I realized that some people you cannot change no matter how much you want them to make you be the father that you want. And when you realize that the only love he's got doesn't mean that it's not the love that, like I remember sleeping next to my dad when my mum died, and one morning at 6 when he used to go to work, he for some reason kissed me on my forehead, and I don't know, it was just like a miracle to me. My dad never kissed me on my forehead, never hugged me, never did anything, but that one moment he kissed me, and that was like that. Just because I wanted him to love me like my mum did doesn't mean that one kiss wasn't as powerful as my mum's love every day. So I recognize that we can't all love the same. So I put that to bed. Why? Because of what he went through and the way his frustrations and angers and what had happened to him in the war. You come to terms with these things and you realize it's not you. And what you want isn't always what you're going to get in this world, but there's reasons for that, because it makes you who you are, and the experience, what you feel after that journey with that person is really important when you leave this world, to then go back as a single drop into that pool, and then that information, that experience goes into the whole of where you come from.
And when we go back into that drop that you describe as an ocean, are we all one once we're there?
It depends where you come from. There are different worlds of spirit worlds. So where I come from is my spirit world, and then where other people come from is their spirit world. So when we say that we are all one, no, we're not on this planet. There are many different spirits that come into these bodies, and a great example is if you've ever been a witness to somebody who does really awful things to children, you cannot say that they come from my world, because their consciousness feeds off hurting children. Their consciousness feeds off that energy. I feed from love. So if I give you a cuddle, I'll feed from that. That's my energy. Their energy doesn't feed from that. So I know then that they're not from my home world, which then leads me to understand that if there's more than one world, there can be vast amounts of different souls that come from all over to come into this world, which is a unique world. But I don't think it's the only one. I think there's absolutely loads of worlds, but this is just one, and I think it is very special. And that's kind of like how I feel. So I normally know when I'm with somebody from my home world, because we feel the same, we speak the same, we talk about things that are more energetic than, we're just different than everybody else. We see things differently than everybody else. So I think, yeah. And
why do you think they want us to believe that we are all one, and that we all
because
have
then pedophiles don't get into trouble, because we forgive them then, because we're all one.
Yeah.
It's the biggest trick in the book, and that's religion. Religion is actually, in my humble opinion, people don't realize how dark it is because it deliberately keeps our world the way it is. So evil continues every day. Because imagine if we could realize that we are not all one and we are all different. And if we could figure out who these people are and where they come from, things would change a little bit. But when you've got religions saying forgive, we all come from God, then it makes sense to think that they'll never get touched. And these are very demonic energies that are in that demonic spirits or souls that are in the body. And they're normally at the highest level of corporations. They're at the highest levels of everything. They're normally the ones, the way you can spot them mainly is that they feed from pain and suffering. They cause the greatest abuse and they want you to fear all the time. They don't like joy or happiness. They want to take, they want to rape, they want to pillage, they want greed, it's all about them and what they want. You normally can spot them. I can spot them a mile off now. And my homeworld family, if you fall, we will both run over and lift you up because we will feel that your energy is now shifted from positive to a fear because you've hurt yourself. There's blood. We'll come over and we'll try and heal that. So like a mum will run over to a child when a child falls and hurts its knee, she'll run over and touch the knee as a natural healer to try and heal the child back into, clear the fear away and be positive again. So, pedophiles and rapists, they want to cause pain and suffering to change that child from happiness to fear because they're so powerful that's the energy they feed from. So we are different, and religion tells us we all come from the same place. I'm sorry, we don't.
So the religious programming, excuse me, the religious programming basically tricks us into holding a certain frequency that keeps the world in such a very dark place. That's what you're saying.
That's exactly what it is. And not just religion.
Yes. It's rampant in all areas of life.
Yeah, you're just finding out now that the history that you believed is absolute lies. And all for certain reasons. All for
we know nothing.
reasons.
I mean, they lie about everything.
Well, you'll never know the truth because when you know the truth, healing process takes place. So if everything's a lie, then you're in confusion. If you believe in the lie, you are generally the energy of the lie without even knowing. So if you go to a program school prison and you're taught everything which is a lie, only a few of us used to sit in the corner and look out the window realizing that this is evil, something is not right here, and it's because somebody's lying to you. Just like if you're in a room with a guy and he's telling you that your house is falling down because he sees a crack, and you think this isn't right, this guy's lying, right? You don't want to be in that company. Well, neither did I as a child. I knew that this was a program. This was a lie. Everything they were telling us is a lie because I could feel it was a lie. 90% is a lie. There's always 10% that they use as truth, but then they'll get the rest of, so it'll always be a little bit of truth. That's how they do it. That's how they do it. So, if you were at school and you had them feelings where you felt sick and you didn't want to go there, predominantly it's because, you're being fed absolute lies, and even you're hearing it, but your consciousness knows because your consciousness is old. It's been here many times before. And, though you're a child and you treat like a child and you're told to shut up or you get beaten because Mark Bajerski is, I'm sorry to say, Mrs. Bajerski, your son is uncontrollable. And good job I was uncontrollable because it's made me who I am. So I don't fit into the demonic system. I am free from it. That's why I don't believe in religion. I don't believe in history. I don't believe in anything apart from the experience that I live. I don't believe anything. That is a better place to be than believing everything like history and the medical industry and the religion. Well, see where that gets you. when it
Yeah.
comes to your moment of leaving this world.
So I have a question about that too, because we are also taught that death is a natural thing. And I would wonder, is it really natural to us? Is death really natural, or is it just something that happens here as part of all of the agenda to enslave us?
But Lucille, you know, I was just doing a post about this today. Not everything dies. Do you know there are jellyfish that can live like infinitely or for thousands of years? Once they
Yes,
so
absolutely. And if you think about it, like Lynn and I are both passionate about quantum biology, and if you delve into the mysteries of how our bodies are function every day, I mean, it's a miracle. And there should be no reason why our bodies couldn't be immortal if we weren't bombarded by all this junk and toxicity on all levels that makes the body deteriorate and die, right?
and also we
So
accept the fact that we're going to age and we're going to die. You know,
die, right.
so as the years go on.
So we don't have enough time in this world to really fulfill our mission to create something that will change the world. We are obsolete after a certain point. We're off the planet. We can't effectively do much
Well,
if we have the consciousness.
If I had a choice whether to live here forever and live forever, I'm happy to leave, to be fair. I'm happy to go and go back home. Having time here, spending 200 years in a body, I'm not so sure that, you know, even at 58, sometimes you start feeling a bit tired and exhausted, and you're not the kid that you were jumping with joy. So I feel that the body is like anything else. It does eventually break down, but it breaks down far quicker when we're being poisoned every day, and we're being told all bad things that are happening in the world and what's about to happen. And for sure, we are speeded up to I think that is part of the process. I did a video on it the other day. They want us to die far quicker than we should. And it's not about money. It's not about money. It's they want this death as quick as possible. But I tell you something interesting. I made a video the other day and talked about this, about energy. And so I see my energy field, my aura, my chi as who I am, not the skin. I never have done. And I remember when I first worked with a shaman, and he told me about the energy of trees, and we mentioned it before. I think we talked about lemons, right?
Yes.
I'm not so sure if we did or we didn't, but
We did.
anyway,
We
the energy of
the
the
lemons,
lemon.
absolutely.
And so I remember being at Malaga with Gerardo, and I pulled an apple from a tree, and I put it. I just put it in front of me, and I was looking at the tree, and I saw the energy around the tree, and the energy around the apple was still where I pulled it from. And I said to Gerardo, I said, I'm seeing energy where I pulled the apple. And he said, of course you are, because the energetic field is still there. And I looked at the apple when it was there, and I says, there's energy around the apple. He says, of course there's energy around the apple. It's alive. It's come from there. It still has a residue of energy because it's still in the body of the apple. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm figuring this out as I'm looking. And then after half an hour, it disappears. So that came to my understanding, is that if I eat the apple within half an hour, I will receive the energy, not only the energy, but the fruit itself. So I call it the magic half hour. So I try and eat fruit and vegetables within half an hour, because you're eating the energy life force, which is what we should do. We now they'll pack it and leave it for 3 months before you get anything. You ask yourself, well, why don't we just make it down the road then? Why do we have to buy it from another country? Now you're starting to understand why. Because if you are eating right from a tree or down the road, and you're getting fresh fruits and veg and eating it as very quickly, is because your body will turn into a temple, and you will become stronger and more powerful, and you'll become more smarter and more wiser, and you're more dangerous. So they want to feed you death all the time, dead food, which is fine, not a problem. At least we know that. But the really interesting thing is, if you cut like an apple on the tree and leave it there, and it's hanging off the tree, when you look at it, it still looks like a whole apple in the energetic field.
Yeah.
And and from that, I used to have clients. I did a video about it last night. I had clients who used to come to me, and I had a girl who had to lose part of her arm, and I could see her arm. I could see it, even though it was gone.
And
And
that's the phantom limb,
I can,
complex, is what they call.
yeah, I can see it. And she'd say to me, I want to pick something up because I still feel like my fingers are there. And she would actually go to pick something up, a bag with it. And I'd say, yeah, you are, because you've still got your, as I'm looking at it, I can see your hand. It hasn't gone. So there's two things. We've got a physical, and we've got this spiritual, which is always there. That never dies. You can't cut that. You can't kill it. It's always there, which is a fascinating thing.
That's amazing.
I don't know what you do with that, but it's a
Yeah,
fascinating.
no, it's really interesting. And I was going to ask you about phantom limbs, and it's interesting that you brought that up because
What's phantom limbs?
phantom limb. So when they cut off your arm, or you amputate your leg, and then people feel like that limb is still there. Is that what it's called, Lucille? Phantom limb?
Yes, phantom limb. And often it's also related to people feeling pain in that limb or
Yeah, they will feel pain
yeah.
even though the leg is gone.
Yes.
And then they do
Yes.
these like with a mirror or something like that, they will make it look like as if the leg is still there, and then you kind of start to heal and the pain goes away. It's they have all these different kinds of things for
Yes.
treatment, which is really interesting. But I mean, that in itself makes you think, right?
How long did it, like, is this like a scientific thing, or
Yeah,
is
definitely.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And-
It's
and
very well
does it-
documented. Yeah. In
and
the
is
in the
it
medical
like
literature.
is it a week or a month, or can it last a
No,
long
It can
time?
last a
lifetime.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Because
different for everybody, but
it did with my client. I
Yeah.
mean, even to this day.
Yeah,
Mhm,
absolutely.
mhm,
Isn't that
yeah.
amazing though? That is truly amazing.
Well, it kind of tells us something that nobody talks about, really. Just like when all women get together and one has a period, then all of a sudden all the women have a period. Why aren't we
Period.
talking about that? Why don't we look into that and talk about that? What is that?
Of
Is it
course.
is it energy? Is it, I don't know, a smell? Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Because once you figure things out like that, you realize there's something more going on than what science
Absolutely.
doesn't want you to know. And that's it. Science is at Scientism. It's another religion. It doesn't want you to heal. It doesn't want you to get well. It just wants to profit and make you sick so that you feed the very nature of the beast.
That makes a lot of sense. So, Mark, for people who are not caught in a very dark energy, who've lived a fairly good life, and they're about to die, what, in your understanding, is what happens to the person after they die? What are the stages, if there are stages, that they go through after
So
death?
I can only tell you what I've witnessed through clients of being there in the moment of transition. So normally what happens is the prior 1 or 2 days before, they start to see their family in spirit. So normally the family and spirit are around outside of the door or coming in the room, and they're pointing to them. And that isn't hallucinations, because the clients who are passing away, it isn't hallucinations. That is literally there, because what I found with one particular gentleman is I'm giving him a healing session, and then all of a sudden I felt spirit behind me, and it felt like his mum. And as I finished, he because I've got my eyes shut and my hands on his heart and on his head, and he points and says, "Oh," and he calls out his mum. So I'm going, well, I felt that 100%. I feel spirit before you felt it, and now you confirm that. That normally happens a day or two before, and it gets stronger. For me as a healer, one thing I recognized is, and it's happened a few times as well, at the point of the transition, when you give healing, the room turns to like a fire, so that your client is on fire and I'm on fire. Something happens in the room. It's incredible. It can't be explained. In fact, I took it down. Brian, when I was healing Brian, this fire came into the room. And when we'd finished, he said, "Did you feel that?" And I said, "I did." And I said, "It's happened before." And then within a day, he passed. But the point being is, it's a very natural process. And depending on, like I said before, your mindset, depending on what you've done in your life, if you're a kind and caring person and you can look back on your life, and I've said this so many times, if you can say I did my best, then this beautiful transaction of moving into the light with your family there, helping you into the spirit world, moving into the spirit world, helping you, not holding your hand, taking you to a light, but just giving you the confidence and courage to transform, to vibrate back home. So it's a very simple transaction. It's a very simple transition that just happens naturally. There isn't these walls and these paths and these things. I think a lot of those things happen because these lights and all of this is because it was a near-death experience, but it wasn't a full experience. So sometimes I think shock happens and the lights come and stuff, but when it's in a bed, and whether it's in a hospital or a hospice or at home, it's a really simple transition. And I didn't hear, oh, there's a bright light. I didn't hear that. And I never heard that. So this bright light theory is what people told me because of near-death experiences. But whenever somebody's moving into the light, it's like, oh, family's here. And it's just a simple transition, and then they're out of their body. And it's done. And then a week later, I'll do a reading, or a month later, the husband or the wife will come and I'll read for them and say, oh yeah, they're here now. And I'll explain where they are, and they just want to know if they're okay. And I'll say, yep, they're okay. They saw you this morning. You were in the garden. You've planted what looks like some roses. And then they start crying. Oh yeah, I got some roses. Okay. And then that's done then. The belief is there, because who knows who's planting roses apart from the husband? How would I know that there were roses planted this morning? What I'm saying is that they definitely come to give us confirmation, which is so that their loved ones on this earth are not suffering. And when anybody says to me, how is my husband in the spirit world? I say, it's a mirror reflection of you. How are you? And you say, I'm terrible. I said, then your husband's terrible. I said, if soon as you're happy, he will be happy. So if you want him to be happy, you have to work on yourself.
And Marco, how do people feel in the afterlife? For example, your husband passes away, and would he want you to remarry or find love again?
There is no, like the feelings that we have here in the spirit world, it isn't. It's like me giving a reading. When I give a reading, I don't feel anything. I don't feel any suffering. I don't feel any pain. I don't feel any resentment. I don't feel, what I'm looking for is a perfect outcome to everything. So the spirit world doesn't feel anger. So I get shouted at by many spiritual people about this. He came forward and he was nasty. And I'm a reader and I can feel him. He's nasty and he's shouting at so-and-so. And I say, maybe you might have it wrong. Maybe he's coming forward telling you these things because you wouldn't know who it was otherwise. So they come forward with who they were in the life to make sure you know who they are. But they're not like that, because I realize that I've done this before. Oh, he was really awful to so-and-so. Yes, he was. And I'm saying, but he's not like that now. I don't feel any resentment. He's just showing me who he is, so you know who he is.
Wow.
So a lot of the time, spiritual people hate me for having a different understanding. And it's very difficult because I can't lie and I can't go with what everybody else says if it doesn't feel right to me.
No, you have to speak your own truth, and that's what we like about you, is that you just speak your truth and don't give a crap what anyone else thinks.
So sometimes the spirit world will lead. I had a beautiful lady, Anna Maria, and she lived in Rosario. Anyway, her husband died of cancer, and she came for a reading, and I said, your husband has brought somebody to you because he found this beautiful man who he said is like me, and he will treat you in such a lovely way. You've already met him. You've met him twice, and it was him who brought you to him, and she's crying. She can't stop crying. When she stops crying, she says, I've come here because I had so much guilt, thinking that I was cheating on my husband, and now my husband's brought this man to her. Life just changed.
Wow.
I've got so many stories like this, that the spirit world, they don't have jealousy. They don't, it's just beyond our understanding.
Why do we have all that here? Why do we need to have all these crazy emotions here?
Well, this is something that I've often asked myself, but I think if you come from a spirit world where everything is so lovely and so calm and so beautiful, it makes sense if you want to grow, if you want to learn, if you want to go over the hill just to see what's going on over the hill. And if you come into a body in this world and you experience things, then it makes sense. Then when that drop of water goes back with that experience, it's going to add to the energy of new. And it's like, I don't know, it just feels like, hey, guess what I've learned today? So it kind of feels like it's expanding knowledge or awareness. And this is a perfect place, but I don't think it's the only world. I think there's loads of different worlds that are not like this, completely different. And I think we come back not only as humans, but we come back as a flower. We come back as whatever the vessel is for however long we're meant to be here. That's why I don't put too much emphasis on this life like I used to do. And I don't fear death at all, because there is no such thing as death.
Okay, so you're also of the certainty, I guess, that we could come back as our dog.
You can come back as whatever you want.
I want to come back as my husband's dog.
Right, perfect then.
That's what I want. I want to experience that pure love that the dogs get.
Yeah, I get
Mark,
it.
let me ask you, in closing, let me ask you about something really that's been kind of on my mind lately. I can't remember how something. He talks about, he's got a book also about exiting the matrix. And he says that going towards the light and all that is a scam, and we shouldn't do it because it's a trap. And that's how they trap us into reincarnating and coming back over and over again. And we're not able to exit the matrix, and they keep us trapped here. So he's saying that when you see the light and you have your loved ones there, he's like, go the other way. Don't do it. Don't go there, because it's a trap.
Okay, well, I have a completely different take on that.
That's why I wanted to hear your opinion.
I'm the absolute opposite, because darkness cannot create false light. And I've been in rooms everywhere. I've been doing work all over the place. I've met some awful entities, some awful spirits, which were bishops that had caused such pain to children. And they have never been able to do light. They've never been able to create light. I've never seen light. The only light that happens is a light of the energy of where we come from. That's the only light that I see. So when you call it a false light, I don't even know what that means, because they can't create a false light. They're darkness. They're of dark energy. They're a dark entity. They're heavy. They're dense. And that's why if you can see this dense, horrible energy in them. If you're of a trapped world, you're half dense energy. So you're not in the spirit world. You're not in any other world. You're partly in this world and partly out. You're trapped in between two worlds. So you'll vibrate at a frequency, and sometimes you can see it, right? But it's not of light. Only of light comes when you are clearing dark energy. I was in, to finish off, I was in a place which was a very old 17 or even early, it might have been a 15th century building. And I was downstairs in the catacombs, and I could see this entity, which was a bishop, coming towards me, and it was evil, and I could feel the evilness coming towards it. And then from nowhere, my mum and what felt like her family, which presented themselves like nuns, which I've got an issue with nuns, I always have, but my mum was brought up in a nunnery, so it kind of made sense what they're trying to show me. And they came forward, and as they came forward to meet this bishop, which was an evil, disgusting being, a light instantly came where my mum was, and it just disappeared. He disappeared instantly. So it just vanished, and it all went peaceful and quiet. And it was like, wow, the light really did something. So when people say to me, oh, the light is a trick, and I'm like, I just don't know. I'm sorry. But I think I mean, we have it difficult in this world. We struggle through life. We struggle through everything that we go through. We're beaten, we're tortured, we're abused. And then at the end, they want us to believe that we're even going to make a mistake when we leave this world. And what the hell do I do? And it's like, it just sounds to me like there's nothing more false than that. That to me is the falseness of everything. Right at the very end, they want you to turn away from the light, meaning that they want you to go into the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yes.
if you read the book, it tells you they tell you specific things, which it just sounds made up to me. It sounds like it's made up. And normally when I hear things, I listen to people, I know when somebody's telling me something that is an actual thing. You can feel it. You can feel it. When the guy died, I remember being at Shirley's spiritual evening, and she said, I want to read you something that I found, and it's about a fireman. So she starts reading about a fireman who talks about him climbing up a ladder to help rescue somebody, slips, falls, smashes his head, and gets taken to hospital. And while is on the operating table, he dies. And he said, he explains that he moves out of the body, he looks at the body, sees everybody there, and he moves further away. And he said, and then all of a sudden, my granddad was there. My dad was next to me. I couldn't see them, but I knew they were there, and I could feel them, and I could talk to them, and they were talking to me back. And he said, I was so upset because I didn't want to die, because I wanted to go. He said, the thing that upset me most of all is that I always wanted to go to the Bahamas, and I've never got chance to go to the Bahamas. And when he said that, he instantly was in the Bahamas in real time. He could see people walking up and down and seeing all of this. It was absolutely beautiful. He said he felt so at peace. And then all of a sudden he came back into his body. Now, when you hear stories like that, I mean, I'm just paraphrasing this story. It was beautiful, and you could feel it, and your hairs go up on the back here, and that was a real, truthful experience. When people talk to me about this false light, I don't get no feeling. I get fear. And I don't follow fear. I don't follow fear, because if you do, you're going to get scammed. Just like when somebody says to you, oh, your house is falling down, there's cracks in your wall. Fear, you're going to get scammed. So I don't follow fear.
No, it makes a lot of sense, Mark. And you know what's really funny, guys? Not really funny, but I had surgery about 10 years ago, and I was under general anesthetic. And as I was coming to, I was like going like this, like, no, I did not want to come back in my body. I don't know where I was or what happened. I was like kicking and screaming and trying to push my body away as I slipped back into my body. It was the craziest experience. I remember it so vividly. Like, even that, what happens, like, we're practically dead when we're under general anesthetic, right? Like, does our soul leave the body during that time? Where do we go?
It's right. And the thing, I'll tell you something else as well, which really bothers these people who talk about the false light and they never answer it. When we fall asleep, we leave our body and we work. We're all over the place.
All of us every night.
Well, those that can leave the body, if you're in physical issue or you've been injected, sometimes anyway, that's another story. But we do. Most of our people say to me, what's my path? Why am I here? I said, well, when you're asleep, you're doing what you're meant to be doing. That's why you're here, because part of that journey, you can be somewhere, it can be the